Good evening, one and all. We welcome you all to the international webinar series of Holistic Health, Well-being and Sustainable Development 2025, commemorating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, nation celebrating 78 years of independence and United Nations Sustainable Development Goals 2015 to 2030 as part of awareness and campaigns in collaboration with Sri Holistic Health Foundation India and Sri Research Institute Center for Art Sciences and Well-being. Before we start our sessions, let's take the blessings of Almighty.
गुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं गुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते शुभं गुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं गुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः
With the blessings of Almighty, we shall continue with today's commemorations and celebrations. Today, we are celebrating International Day for the Eradication of Poverty on 17 September every year with the theme for 2025, Ending Social Discrimination and Institutional Maltreatment by ensuring respect and effective support for families. So the International Day for the Eradication of Poverty, 17th October, underscores that ending poverty is about dignity, justice, and belonging, not just income. So this year's theme focus on ending social and institutional maltreatment by ensuring respect and effective support for families and with a clear goal. Put the further behind first and build institutions that help families stay together, thrive, and shape their own futures. Families in poverty often face stigma and punitive practices in places meant to help schools, clinics, welfare offices, and child protection systems. Single mothers, indigenous families, and historically discriminated groups report judgment and control that erode trust and agency, sometimes culminating in poverty driven family separation with lasting emotional and social harm to children and parents. To change course, the day's theme are just three shifts. From control to care, design services that start with trust, reduce punitive conditionality, streamline documentation, and prioritize respectful person-centered interactions. From surveillance to support, rebalance investments away from monitoring and removable toward family strengthening services, income support, quality childcare, adequate housing, mental health care, parenting support, and access to justice. From top down to co created solutions involve families living in poverty at every stage assessment, design, building, delivery, and evaluations of policies reflect real needs and constraints. So, supporting families advances multiple SDGs, SDG 1, SDG 2, SDG 3, SDG 4, SDG 5, SDG 6, SDG 8, SDG 10, SDG 16 through coherent jointly delivered policies across social protection, education, health, housing, and employment, with people centered development gaining momentum ahead of the second World Summit for Social Development in Doha, 4 to 6 now on 4 to 6 November 2025. This agenda translates committees into concrete, measurable change by respecting, protecting, and supporting families. So, over 690 million people live in extreme income poverty under $2.15 per day, and nearly half of the world live between below $6.85 per day, leaving me just one stock away from hardship. Poverty is dynamic. Households often more in and out of it. Many escapes are temporary and preventing people from falling into poverty is as vital as lifting them out. Around 1.1 billion people face acute multidimensional poverty, experiencing overlapping deprivation in health, education, and living standards, gaps within countries that can exceed gaps between countries. So climate shocks hit the poor hardest. The poorest half of the world contributes a small share of emission, yet bears a large share of income losses from climate-related hazards. Conflict deepens poverty. The share of people in extreme poverty living in fragile and conflict-affected settings has risen sharply, and large populations are regularly exposed to violence and instability. In a world characterized by an unprecedented level of economic development, technological means, and financial resources, that millions of persons are living in extreme poverty is a moral outrage. Poverty is not solely an economic issue, but rather a multidimensional phenomenon that encompasses a lack of both income and the basic capabilities to live in dignity. Persons living in poverty experience many interrelated and mutually reinforcing deprivations that prevent them from realizing their rights and perpetuate their poverty, including dangerous work conditions, unsafe housing, lack of nutritious food, unequal access to justice, lack of political power, limited access to health care, and so on. So, implementing third decade for eradicating poverty as the world embarks on the third decade for the eradicating poverty, an estimated 783 million people lived on less than $1.90 a day in 2013, compared with 1.867 billion in 1990. Economic growth across developing countries has been remarkable since 2000, with faster growth in GDP per capita than advanced countries. Economic growth has fueled poverty reduction and improves in living standards. Achievements also has been recorded in job creation, gender equality, education and healthcare, social protection measures, agriculture and rural development, and climate change adaptation and mitigation. Around the world, children are more likely to live in poverty than adults. They are also vulnerable to its effects. Children may experience poverty across multiple dimensions, whether deprived of shelter, food, water, education, or healthcare. Growing up without these necessities is a violation of child's rights and consequences that can last a lifetime. Today is also commemorated as World Trauma Day. Which is observed on October 17th each year with an emphasis on saving lives and how to properly attend to emergency cases. This day is structured to create increased awareness about trauma and to educate the public on ways to address traumatic incidents and deaths. Traumatic injuries have caused more deaths to the people between below the age of 45 than malaria, HIV/AIDS, and tuberculosis. Furthermore, over 90% of deaths around the world are caused by traumatic injuries. World Trauma Day observation seeks to lower these rates. World Trauma Day was created in New Delhi, India in 2011. This was a result of high number of deaths caused by road accidents in the country. An estimate of over 400 people lost their lives each day to it. The day was created to reduce injuries and deaths as well as the after effects of trauma incidents in the country and the world at large. Road accidents are considered to be one of the most common causes of traumatic experiences around the world. Traumatic experiences from military operations, domestic abuse, and sexual assaults follow shortly behind. These experiences, if not handled properly, can result in victims suffering from the post-traumatic stress disorder, according to the accounts dating back to 5th century. BC trauma was visible in ancient Greece and was also reported among the soldiers during the American Civil War in 1860s. World War II came with the development on how trauma was conceived by many soldiers, were then allowed to take a break from war to clear off their heads and then return to war later on. During the Vietnam and Korean Wars, the use of talk therapy for trauma victims began to hold ground. The then Veterans Administration, which is now known as the United States Department of Veteran Affairs, started a group therapy program for PTSD victims. The commemoration of World Trauma Day, on the other hand, guarantees that people are well informed about how to cope with trauma and to avoid when possible. Today is also commemorated as Women in Military Service for America Memorial Anniversary in US on October 17th, which is a special day that pays tribute to the millions of military women who have lost their lives in service. Men aren't the only saviors during the war, and the US history include many females who contributed to success in combat, and these military women use their intellect and strength to protect the nation and are seen as inspirational figures today. This year honor these brave women by paying a special tribute to their accomplishments in the times of war. Today is also commemorated as Wear Something Gaudy Day. We are ready to pull out the stops if you are always wanted to show off some of the more bizarre items in your closet. And that is the day to do so, whether it is a chunky milestone studded belt, a pink velour juicy couture tracksuit, or a highlighter yellow top that only 90s ravers would approve of. Today is also commemorated as National Pay Back a Friend Day. After conducting an in-depth study on how money affects relationships, Bank of America designated October 17th as National Pay Back a Friend Day. This study, which is called Friends Again Report, found that 53% of its participants have ended a friendship after they loaned a friend money and were never paid back. As a way to combat this issue, National Pay Back a Friend Day was created. So on October 17th, put away the bad feelings, pull up your mobile payment apps, and start paying your ex-friends back. Today is also commemorated as National Pasta Day in US. The folks who created pasta definitely knew what they were doing. Hundreds of years of Italian tradition go into the simple meal each October. We devote a special day to this incredible dish. Pasta come in many shapes and sizes, but no matter the form is something nearly every American family has grown up with. Today is also commemorated as National Mammography Day on October 17th, occurring every third Friday of October, which is a cousin of Breast Cancer Awareness Month. They are both committed to women's self-care, where the day is set aside specifically to encourage women to take time to make an appointment. Early detection means early treatment and the difference between life and death. The mammography is a technique which uses low energy X-rays to detect calcification, which is a sign of the beginning of stages of breast cancer. In the late 1950s, Robert Egan developed an innovative method to screen mammograms for the first time. In 1959, he published his returns and later released a book called Mammography. In the early 1960s, his contribution began to be known as the Egan technique and allowed doctors to detect hardening masses within the breast tissue. When getting a mammogram, the breast is compressed by a mammographic unit. This compression evens out the thickness of the breast tissue to decrease the amount of scattered radiation and prevent blurring the motion. Women are discouraged from wearing deodorant, lotion, or talcum powder during these screenings as they may show up on the X-ray as calcium spots. So the procedure is said to be painful or highly uncomfortable, which is the main reason many women may not return or schedule continuing exams. There are currently over 3.1 million survivors in the United States alone living due to early detection technologies like mammograms. It is recommended that women aged 40 and up schedule their mammography appointments biannually. However, if women are at a higher risk for breast cancer, they are encouraged to schedule their appointments annually instead. Factors that may increase the risk of breast cancer include heavy smoking, excessive drinking, or a family history of breast cancer. There are always also ways women can decrease their chances of being afflicted with breast cancer, such as moderating alcohol intake, avoiding cigarettes, exercising regularly, and maintaining a healthy diet. Today is also commemorated as National Edge Day on October 17th. The straight edge lifestyle means refraining from alcohol, drugs, and tobacco. A subgenre of hardcore punk rockers inspired the movement. On October 17th, celebrate National Edge Day by resetting your mind and body and exploring a unique way of life. If you always live in straight edge, this is a great time to encourage your friends to try it with you to know further for plenty of ideas and activities to make this day special. Today is also commemorated as National Clean Your Virtual Desktop Day in US. There are exactly 365 days in a year, yet most of us neglect the condition of our computers. Technology is more advanced than ever, so we have become accustomed to not maintaining them. Thanks to the good folks of the Personal Computer Museum of Ontario, Canada, that has changed on third Monday of October, on October 17th this year, people celebrate National Clean Your Virtual Desktop Day by doing just making sure that their desktops are clean. The magic behind this is quite simple. The more things you have stored on your computer, a slower running machine. This because more RAM is being used. For those that do not know what RAM is, think of it as a horsepower. The heavier your car weighs, the more horsepower you have to travel. So clean up your computer as if it were a tune-up and get up to the speed. We are just stating the obvious facts. Clean up your computer and gain more space on your computer. As mentioned above, this will make your computer quicker, plus it will give you a more space to store the important documents you want, as opposed to the ration rate receipt from 2008. Do you remember how quick your computer was when you first purchased? Probably not, since you have not cleaned it in years. Get a fresh start by emptying the trash. Start over by being more organized this time. Label your documents appropriately and make it easy for yourself when you need them. Today is also commemorated as Loud Shirt Day in New Zealand. It is an unofficial holiday dedicated to raising awareness across New Zealand about children with hearing abilities and impairment. There are only two major charities in New Zealand and have taken on the responsibility of managing children who are deaf or hard of hearing. The Hearing House and South and Southern Cochlear Implant Program. Loudship Day in New Zealand is an annual fundraising event from which these charities are raising the much needed funds to continue to contribute to the management and rehabilitation of children who are deaf. The history of hearing difficulty and hearing loss probably dates back thousands of years and for as long as humans have existed. So let's talk about the total deafness and culture of people who live with it, known as deaf culture. In modern or relatively modern history, deafness is centered on sign language and relationships among one another. Though some individuals see and treat deafness as a disability, people living with it simply consider themselves a language minority. Throughout the years, deaf people have been able to lead nominal lives and function just as well as people who aren't deaf, albeit with some extra work and adaptability. Today is also commemorated as Dessalines Day on October 17th every year in Haiti. The anniversary of Jean-Jacques Dessalines' death is celebrated with parties, parades, and historic reenactments of his life. It's a day to remember one of the founding fathers of Haiti who played a pivotal role in the Haitian Revolution, leading to its independence in 1804. Today is also commemorated as Day of Dignity in Bolivia to commemorate the victims of 2003 oil revolt in an event called the Day of Dignity, observed on October 17th of every year. In a march that turns deadly for many indigenous Bolivians, protested the shipment of their nation's oil to the United States. Evo Morales, the former president of Bolivia, issued a proclamation declaring a national day to honor and remember the fallen. Bolivia's oil reserves were discovered back when the country was a Spanish colony but suffered a lack of exploration. The most solemn activity commenced only during the 20th century, and oil production peaked in the country. Oil became the all important export, and the government pegged its hopes on gas profits to boost the country's economy. Critics pointed out that Bolivia would receive 18% of the earnings under the current regulations, which included a trade agreement with the United States. Additionally, exportation rates were noticeably lower than usual, which prompted worries about the outside exploration of Bolivia's natural resources. Then in 2002, Bolivia proposed building a pipeline through Chile to transport oil via Pacific Ocean. The decision got heavy backlash from Bolivians who antagonistic history with Chile influenced many against the idea. By September the following year, this conflict had escalated to increasingly disruptive confrontations between the Bolivian armed forces and the local people. A violent clash a month later, which saw 67 protesters lose their lives, was the turning point of oil protests. The president resigned and fled to the US. Martial law was imposed and an acting vice president was elected. The following 2 years saw more clashes and disputes until the presidential election brought activist and trade union organizer Morales into the political game. After winning the presidency in 2006, the new leader issued a proclamation declaring the nationalization of all gas reserves. He also suggested a designated day which has been honored since to remember the victims of the 2003 riot. Today is also commemorated as Child Poverty Day, referred to as International Day for the Eradication of Poverty, in short known as IDEP, observed on October 17th, is a time that highlights child poverty that exists in the developing nations. Apart from lagging in necessities such as food and fresh water, child poverty also includes a lack of quality healthcare, education, and nutrition. When parents are unable to afford this, their child rights began to suffer more often. It is the job of government institutions to offer such necessities free of cost to empower the youth and build future of the nation. So celebrate the day and spread information regarding child poverty across the world. Today is also commemorated as Black Poetry Day in US, which is celebrated every year on October 17th to honor all the talented African American poets, both past and present. If you are a literature enthusiast, poet or writer, no matter your race, you absolutely love Black Poetry Day, where you can celebrate Black heritage and history. Black poetry is celebrated in commemoration of the birth of the man popularly referred to as father of American literature, Jupiter Hammond, the first published black poet in the United States of America. Black Poetry Day is a day to recognize the contribution of black poets to the literature and celebrate the black experience as retold in poetry. So with this, we shall end today's commemorations. Thank you everyone for joining us in today's commemorations and celebrations. We request everyone to quickly fill up the feedback form that has been raised in the form of polls before leaving the platform. So see you all tomorrow at the same time with the same joining link with different commemorations. Take care. Good night.